It's actually going to do it. Okay.
Oh.
Hey, everybody. Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 9, Terra Firma, Part 1, is over. And it has been just for a couple of minutes now. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews, joined with two great co-hosts and panelists here to break this episode down with me. First, we got Michael Chan. How are you doing, Michael?
Exhausted, but I am here for fun.
And that's great. And we also have Adam Woodward. How are you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm great, thank you. And good to see you guys.
Good to see you too, man.
Good to see you. And we're here to talk about this first of the two-parters. There haven't been a lot of double-parters in Discovery in general. It's been kind of like these longer season arcs, which feel like just like 10-part series. But this is a dedicated, more enclosed story with a two-parter. And so we don't know how it ends. So we can only talk about this first half tonight. Where is this going? This is, a fun opportunity, and I'm excited to talk about it. Where I think we should just start at the beginning and work our way through, because there's quite a bit to talk about. This was a Emperor Georgiou focused episode, but there's a little bit more than that going on with some of the other characters tonight. And the title Terra Firma is, I guess, Earth Strong, or the Terra, what the Terrans call Earth, right? They don't live on Earth, they live on Terra, I presume. Is that what they're kind of saying here? So that's kind of their hail, along with the Empire salute or whatever. And it's picking up with this storyline that's been teased and talked about over these past 7 episodes. That Georgiou, not only did she cross universes, but she crossed time, and so she's in trouble here. And we get this scene pretty early on where we see Cronenberg. Cronenberg was back. Everyone was waiting. Michael, you were excited?
Woo! Yeah.
Right. As Dr. Culber was trying to figure out how to save his patient in Emperor Georgiou. And we get this, Cronenberg's back. He was talking about this officer who is in the TNG season 1-2 uniform, which would be circa of the 2360s, early 2360s, here in the tights. And he was somebody in the Temporal Wars who also did these things, crossed universes and time periods, and it did not go well for him. He ended up dying very painfully, he died of the same thing that now Georgiou is experiencing. Because they talk about you missed a bunch. You missed the Temporal Wars. There was a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm interested to learn more about that. Was this Adam? Lot of stuff going on in just this opening scene. What were your thoughts?
I missed the first 3 minutes, I have to tell you.
Oh, okay. Well, then
so you got to fill me in, guys. You got to fill me in.
That's what happened. That's effectively what happened.
This picture you're showing right there. I haven't seen that yet, so I'm
okay. Well, that's what happened.
See that Cronenberg is here.
I saw the end of Cronenberg. Basically he said, she's finished, and then there was another option. That's where I walked in.
I am so happy that he's back. Yes. I am just so freaking happy.
Yeah, and so, Michael, what did you think of his return here tonight? Because his first appearance was very ominous. We didn't know quite where he stood. We haven't really seen him yet since then, but he's back here with Culber, and he seems more benevolent than maybe we thought.
Seems. I mean, yeah, they played him a little bit more sinister before, but it's not like we learned very much about him. We know that he is very knowledgeable in stuff regarding time and regarding dimensional jumps. We know that he knows the laws quite well with regards to these things. But other than that, we really still haven't learned too much about him. So, jury's out on whether he's, a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah, he seems to be at least neutral, something good here. Because he was like, well, no, she's gonna die. Basically, what happened, Adam, was that he says, yeah, she's got this time thing. The mirror. He and what did bother me about the scene was that he refers to it as the mirror universe and the prime universe. And these are a little bit like layman's terms that maybe we use as fans, but they're actually putting it in dialogue, which I take a little bit of an exception with it. But
could they just be kind of giving the fans something back, kind of an acknowledgement of the fan base?
maybe I think that they're just dumbing it down is how I interpret it, because they're like they never have to call it the mirror universe before now, like formally. That's what we call it on the outside of like the universe or of this.
Well, I mean, if you purchase like the current line of Mego action figures, they do actually call it mirror on toys.
Yeah. You mean what with the new Discovery characters and everything?
No. I bought a couple of the brand new old style like Mego like action figures from like they have like original series and TNG.
Oh yeah. Like if you bought like a product, like a toy that was like from the mirror universe, they would say so on the label. So I guess it's fine. I don't know. It just whatever. It's fine. It's so that they have to do a lot. They have to fit a lot of these episodes. I get it, but it's okay. You don't have to change to these kind of simpler terms, but it's fine. And the other thing that bothered me was that they said that this guy was from 2379. I heard them say 2379. This uniform is from 2362. So no. Sorry guys. That's a false. I know my uniforms and I know my years of the uniforms, and that's not right. But I appreciate the callback. I love seeing this TNG uniform in like full authentic form. Just get the year right. You could have said any year. You could have said 2362 or whatever. But anyway, and this is where after that we went to the mess hall where we check in on Georgiou, who's feeling sorry for herself with her she's dying from this disease. Cronenberg tells us that don't tell her she's dying, because all Terrans want to do when they think they're dying is die the most glorious death ever, which interesting. They're kind of filling in more in details on Terrans in Discovery, because we only get bits and pieces in the other stuff that we've had in other Star Trek series, and they're starting to flesh them out more as like a culture and why they are the way they are, and why they act the way they do. Versus in the past, it's just been more like they're just evil versions of everybody else in another universe. Did you, Michael? Did you know she was drinking the wine there in the mess hall with her lunch?
I did.
Did it feel like, is that a classy move, or is this a bit like orders like with their like lunch tray at the thing at the cafeteria?
But she has her alcohol.
Does she care?
She's day drinking.
She's dying. Maybe. Okay, well, fine. She can have her wine. I don't know.
Yeah.
She day drinking, man. Day drinking.
But what was happening with her hands? Were they just shaking? No,
it's the it's like Thanos, snap dust away.
Yeah, what Cronenberg explained, and we keep calling him Cronenberg, but his character is actually Kovich. But what Kovich has explained to us is that what they learned during the Temporal Wars was that your molecules want to stay in the time that they originate from. They don't like being out of their own time. Go figure. And let alone universe. And because she's one of these exceptions, rare exceptions of being both, she's basically like being pulled apart on a molecular level. It's not going to be a good way to go.
And it was a cool effect. I thought it was pretty cool, but especially since like I don't know, everyone loves that Thanos finger snap effect, and I was like, oh, they're totally using it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good analogy. Yeah, she's kind of like dissolving away, like right.
Because last week we saw her face stretching out, and other things happening to her. So that now closes that loop. Why, right?
Right.
Yes.
We're figuring out, like, we didn't quite know where this was going with her story this season, and we get here, and so I want to get to Carl and all that, because there's a lot to break down there. But just before we get there, there's kind of this scene where Georgiou is in she's in the gym. She's working out. She's punching the thing. And basically Michael has to kind of convince her to let one, to fight for her life, and two, to let Michael help her. And we continue this sort of like bickering between Mira Georgiou and Michael Burnham that's continuing. The relationship, they keep trying to go this mother-daughter relationship that they seem to have, or this kind of weird, because we talked about this before, but they have their counterparts. They know each other's counterparts. That's explored more heavily in this episode. And why were there axes and other swords in that gym? Did that feel a little bit out of place to anybody else?
Well, really, I mean, no, I think it was just her training. I mean, they can set up anything they want, right? If they want to fight with swords, they can fight with swords. You know, I think that.
Yeah, and maybe Book set up his gym. Yeah.
One quick question though: so when she went to the gym, had they already met Vance? I'm just trying to put the sequence in my head here because they had a
Vance was before the scene in the gym. Yes. So there was the scene. Yes, you're right. So I did skip over that. There's before that, there's a scene where it's Kovich, Admiral Vance, Saru, Burnham, and Dr. Culber. Right. And they're all kind of like, should we help Georgiou? The computer had figured out, because Culber said, Kovich said there's no cure. And then Culber said, why don't we just ask the computer? And he says, yeah. The computer says, yes, there is a possibility. They have to go to the edge of the Alpha Quadrant just before the Gamma Quadrant. Apparently, that's where they need to go. To some planet, the computer says, with the sphere data and everything else that they have, that there's some kind of possibility, but it's incredibly vague, and we don't know what to expect when we get there. It's just kind of which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, you think the computer would say, you're going to get there, and there's going to be a man in the snow in a Muskoka chair smoking a cigar.
The guy from
CSI. Yeah, the captain with the dry one-liners from CSI original Vegas style.
Yes.
He'll be there in the Muskoka chair, saying, "Why don't you just walk through this door I just made?" But
before that, though, the conversation was quite interesting. I mean, like it went the other way. You know, Saru is usually the man who's the compassionate one, and I want to save it. You know, and then he's going. I have to go with the needs of the many. We're not going. And who surprised us? Vance. Yeah.
Vance. No, I was honestly surprised, but then I was like, ooh, it's showing another side of him.
Yes, but last week we were talking about that, and like because he's being this hard ass, and you're not sure where he's. Is there any compassion or humanity in this man? He's seen a lot of crap. And now tonight, it was good. It was nice to see that part of him. I liked that scene a lot.
I'm really liking Admiral Vance. I think he sort of has stepped into this role of, I don't know, kind of similar to what Pike had last year. He's like a mentor to Saru. He's if Saru instinct is to go one way, Vance seems to typically go the opposite way. And so I think that they're trying to like grow Saru as a captain, because he's a very new captain, right? He just became captain like 5 minutes before they kind of came and joined back with the fleet. And so there's still some growth there. I think that I think it's good what they're doing with their relationship. And I like Vance as sort of as a character. I think that he's a good addition, a competent admiral, a good mentor.
Yeah, and that little, not dressing down, but it was that little talk that he gave Saru at the end whenever he had left. Don't make the same mistakes I do. You're going to learn from stuff. You don't want this haunting you. It was good. Yeah. It was a nice little scene to get going on this. And then one more question, just again, because I just walked in on this at this point. Did the Dr. Cronenberg, did he go with them, or is he still on the starbase?
No, he didn't go on the ship. He didn't go on the to the Gamma Quadrant or wherever they went tonight. No, he seemed to stay back with Vance.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
But Michael, what did you think of like the whole speech where Vance says to Saru, like, if you didn't go there, if you didn't stick up for Georgiou, like your crew would never look at you the same, and the Federation would never feel the same way about you again, and there'd be all these kinds of implications of like, if you don't stand up for the right things at the right time, then there's sort of like consequences.
I was really happy with that scene. You know, like we were suspicious. We've been suspicious of the new Federation, and you know, things have been said by characters about what the Federation stands for and all that. So it's good to see an admiral actually upholding some of the more compassionate values of the Federation that we know, and in this case, helping Saru advance forward as a captain.
There you go, pun intended.
Yes.
Yeah, like I think he's just been a great addition to the like. He's also taken over, I guess, the role of that Admiral Cornwall sort of had in the first 2 seasons too. I guess being sort of the superior officer.
Yeah.
It's just nice having an admiral who knows what they're doing. Maybe the best admiral since Owen Paris, or even Admiral Ross. You know, to throw out a couple references. Okay, but in that scene, in that meeting scene, Vance calls out Burnham and says, "You hesitated with Commander Ariam," calling back to season 2, the cybernetically enhanced Starfleet human officer who was infected by Control and would have killed them all. And she was saying to Burnham, "You know, you gotta flush me out this airlock, or it's all going bad." And she hesitated. And I think it was actually Non that actually did it.
That's right.
Launched her out the airlock instead. And Vance says, "Will you hesitate this time if it comes down to Giorgio?" I don't know why that's a question. I don't know why this would be a life or death situation where he's anticipating that, but he's predicting that it could be an issue, and he brings it up to Burnham. And I guess is that what I assume that's got to be fulfilled in part 2. Like that's been set up for part 2 of this story.
I'm assuming so.
You know what else though? That again, for Vance, credit, he shows that he knows more about this crew than I would have given him credit for. The relationships between people and the importance of Jojo. So I guess he's read the dossier and everybody, but more than that, he understands the relationships between them. So
yeah.
No, yeah, like if Vance is not on the level, he's surely pulling the wool over all of our eyes.
I'm liking the way this is going now, because again, Michael Chan just said it. We've been suspicious. What's going on with this guy? I'm not sure. Now I'm feeling much better about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I liking admirals. Admirals haven't got a good track record in Star Wars.
No, they don't have a good. They don't have a good track record at all. Most of them mediocre at best, but this one's a good one. George. So we just back to that whole fight scene, the gym scene. There's a series of scenes tonight with Georgiou and Michael. Did you feel that this relationship working for you overall, Michael?
I'm okay with it. I don't see anything wrong with it. I have nothing to nitpick.
I guess it's not about whether you have nothing. If there's something wrong with it, but is it exciting? Is it like compelling? Is it like this is great drama? This is great.
I found myself compelled. I found myself wanting to know what happens next. I recognize that this Philippa is, Terran Philippa, evil Philippa, and is she redeemable? I don't know, probably not. But there's something to be said about watching 2 characters from different universes trying to work out a relationship with their, the other version of each other's significant person in their lives. It's a complicated situation, and I've always found it interesting to see them sort this out. So, and now that they're tackling it at this level, I'm quite happy to see where it goes.
Yeah. And Adam, your feelings about like their chemistry, these 2 actors.
I didn't know if that scene was really necessary. Again, it was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good, or it just, but we already knew where this was going, the direction, she wanted to be killed. And, but by that point, we know they're going down the planet. I didn't love it. I didn't love that scene. I liked it when they got to the planet. And then the banter's going on about them. I don't necessarily didn't like the cafeteria scene. When they're eating and she's trying to drink the wine.
Threw the food on Tilly.
Yeah, like we know she's mean. She's really like it's just you know. And again, Tilly didn't look first officer like in that scene to me. She just took
No.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it
Yeah,
was
like I think, yeah. Well, I think that, like, to Michael's point, is she redeemable? Maybe, maybe not. I think that they know. I think this whole two-parter is going to is trying about solving that question. How do you make this Mirror Georgiou, who has this like history, who has committed atrocities, as we're sort of alluded to tonight, uh, and how do you make this character now? Ah, well, she's sort of just the black sheep of our crazy crew here, and you know she's mean to people, and watch out, she'll throw food on Tilly. Like there's a lot. I think that we can accept her as a redeemable character, but we got to see that she's not this person anymore, that she's maybe becoming somebody else.
But you started to see that down on the planet, right? I mean, sorry, when she walked in the Terran universe, you start seeing, because now the characters that she's starting to appreciate and respect, Saru, number one, but we can get to that in a minute. We're not in timeline here, but definitely some changes happening with her.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
I would like to point out the cafeteria scene with Tilly. I recognize that, yes, she wasn't as commandery as most number ones, but I mean, she also wasn't as Tilly-y as you would expect. Like, she did the Tilly thing, right? She tried to reach out, but then when she had the stuff thrown on her, she didn't break, she didn't cry, she almost just looked kind of disappointed in Philippa. It's a stronger taking of it than a normal what we would expect from Tilly reaction, right? Okay. So for me, it's showing that even though she is number one and acting number one, she can still be Tilly. She's the one who reaches out.
Mary Wiseman she's one of the only ones tonight who had to play both her mirror counterpart and her prime counterpart in a significant way, I'd say. And so I think that maybe her just taking it was to kind of contrast her to this evil mirror Tilly that we do get to see.
That is fair.
Yeah. I feel like I'm always down on Tilly. But I do like her better as a number one.
Well, I think she was the right choice. We're going to see her grow into this role, and I think that there's still good. I think that it's not going to be. I think she's going to have some bumps in the roads, but I think that that's to be expected. I think that that's what you should do with this character development. We saw that they got into the black vests again for their away mission tonight. I saw that it was a little bit of a uniform change here, as well as that the whole thing is turned black except for the pants, which have remained blue. I just have to close it out. There was a little comment here about how in the mirror universe they call the prime universe the mirror universe, and Burnham says as it should be. And then Tilly forgives Georgiou for her throwing food at her and being mean to her earlier. And we also get a scene with Stamets and Adira. Adira was attempting to create an algorithm to track down this burn lead that they've all been working on, and so Stamets kind of talks them down off the ledge and gets them to sort of talks a little bit about Gray and being mad at Gray for not kind of flaking off. There's not a ton here tonight between these two, but did you enjoy it, or did you feel that it was well earned in the episode?
I think it's something I really appreciate about this show right now with the writing is that you have all these different arcs happening throughout the season, right? And this is one of those cases where they recognize it's not this episode, and probably both episodes are not about them. But you can't just forget that this stuff is happening. So you need to have some reason for us to see them, even if briefly, to talk about stuff that's been going on and advance it, even if a little bit forward. And I felt, I guess, as you would say, earned, because it was. I felt like it made sense in terms of the story, and it helped us better understand what they're going through, and it moved their relationship forward in this kind of, I guess, father-child thing that's happening. I don't know where this is going, but it feels
mentor,
mentor,
and
mentee. Yeah, something like that.
pupil.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think that this scene, again, it was very short, but again, necessary to bring that story is just as it's important. It's important we liked it 2 weeks ago or whenever it was last week maybe. We like this. I'm glad that they reminded us of it, and now we won't forget to keep going with it because it's important. It's a good scene, good characters too.
Well, we're seeing a ton of this season and a ton of tonight. That they know that for us to sort of care about this ship, this crew, they also have to care about each other, and this crew, in generally speaking, had a rocky start with each other. A lot of them's kind of not on the best terms, especially in Michael's case. With many of them, but that they've kind of grown. Like you see these relationships that have formed. Stamets and Adira is being an example of that, but there's Stamets and Culber, or there's Joanna and Reese, or different these characters that are important. We also get a scene tonight with Booker and or Book and Saru, where Book comes to Saru and says, hey man, I want to help with this burn stuff. I'm a pilot. I'm an engineer. I got some stuff, and Saru's doing the walk and talk, doing Doug Jones doing his arm, thing. This basically saying, man, you'll get your chance. Wait for your chance. We're gonna give you a chance to prove yourself. And for what? Is he asking to join the crew? Is he asking to join Starfleet? What was this? What was this scene? I wasn't quite sure where it ended exactly.
Well, we had to have it because, again, I think it was last week. He's staying. So what's his purpose? He's got to have a purpose. Got to have something to do.
But also, at the end of the day, he's still kind of. I think he's hesitating to outright just be like, "I want to join Starfleet." Like, he definitely wants to be here. He wants to be involved. But I understand it. There's a hesitation to just outright join, right? So he's like, I think this is almost kind of like a little poke. Like, am I able to do stuff while not being part of the crew? like actually part of Starfleet?
He can't.
Yeah.
He wants to be there until he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, well, he's a main cast member now, so they're trying. I guess they're trying to figure what role does he slip into, and I'm like, okay, so we got Saru as the captain, we got Michael Burnham's the science officer. Her role's pretty well established. Stamets is spore drive expert / Adira mentor. Then you got Culber's the doctor. That's easy. Then you got like Tilly, who's now the first officer, and Booker. So there's a couple roles open. Security chief we talked about is probably open, but he doesn't seem like a security chief type. He seems like more of a. But then he's like, I'm a pilot, but they already have Detmer as a pilot, so they don't need another pilot unless he's just the pilot of the little ship that he has that kind of flies out of the shuttle bay.
I mean, he would be very useful on away missions that require a skilled pilot, and you don't want to throw Detmer in there.
Yeah, especially if you've got to talk to some animals. With some,
right, exactly.
With some
I just think that was a good scene because it's like near the end, Saru and Book basically understood, right? He has to go and read the rules and regulations and sort stuff out. Saru's almost like
you need to go to school. You need to learn our regulations. Is that will we get is that where next time we'll get that paid off, where he's like, I read the whole book, I'm an expert on all the Starfleet regulations, just give me the uniform now.
Go the book. Yeah,
I wrote the book itself on it. I read all the databases. I don't know. I'm curious to see where this goes. At least it's interesting to see how they're going to integrate Book is long term. And I think this two-parter is also trying to answer, where does Georgiou fit into this, long term? We're gonna get the answer next week.
You'll get it next week, I think.
And let's talk about the ice planet, because then they get down there, and Saru says goodbye to her. Saru's like, I don't like your chances here. So if goodbye.
Goodbye. I learned something from you. See you later.
Yeah, I learned things from you. I also I learned from Prime. He throws a little bit of shade at her, and but it's also kind of nice. And and she seems to start. She's showing it right in Michelle Yeoh's performance. She's showing like she's cracking that her evil self is she's kind of like these goody two shoes, like kind of like that scene in Deep Space Nine where Quark and Garrick talk about how the Federation is insidious. It's like root beer. It's sweet and it's bubbly, and after a while you start to like it, and that's kind of the Federation, right? That the noble example. Where's you down?
What I'm curious about with this whole cracking of her is that if she, the Empress is able to crack, does that mean that the Terrans aren't as Terran-like deep down at their core as everybody seems to think they are? I'm curious to know that.
Well, I think that there's something to that. I think that they're not as evil, like as maybe they've been made out to be, or how much of this is sort of inherent to their nature. Now, we know what happened was, in the Mirror universe, there's this encounter in the original episode, Mirror Mirror. Prime Kirk meets Mirror Spock, and so Mirror Spock is convinced basically during that encounter to change the ways of the Terran Empire. That the brutality the Terran Empire can't stand, that they have to change things around, and that's what Mirror Spock does after that encounter. He gets rid of Mirror Kirk, he becomes the Emperor, but he makes the Empire so weak that the Cardassians and the Klingons take over. And the humans that we see a century later in Deep Space Nine, like the Mirror O'Brien and the Mirror Bashir, like they're generally good people. Like they're just trying to fight for their freedom because they've been sort of enslaved for the last 90 years or something. Excuse me. So, Adam, do you feel like just Terrans do they have a nature to them? Are they like living for glory and battle and whatever, and they like being mean, or is this like kind of a nurture situation where they've learned to be bad?
I think in the mirror world, you have a bunch of personalities that want to exceed, that want to benefit and take basically live off other people, enslave other people. I mean, it's a way of living, and I don't believe. I think that this is a great conversation because we can go in a million ways, but people, I think people are a product of where they live and the conditions they're under, rather than true. I mean, anybody can bend in a nicer environment or a harder environment. You have to basically survive, right? So this is the way they survive. Now, the Emperor, Giorgio, man, she's tough.
She helped create this environment that made them all like this too,
right?
Or she a victim of the system too. I don't know, but
yeah, but in that environment, there's just engineers who build cool ships. I mean, there's guys who just are pilots, and there's the regular crew that you just see but what we're seeing is the ones who want to excel, who want to better themselves in the ranks and whatnot. But there just has to be like everybody else who just lives, right? And they just have to live under that rule, and that's the way it is, right? And but with Jojo in the Prime universe, she doesn't have to be that person. And you see those cracks because, she called Saru captain. She gave, in her world, an enslaved race, she gave credit and respect,
so she has changed. She has grown. Clearly.
Sure.
Definitely has.
Because the way she was eating Kelpians when we first met her, and now she's treating them like they're people.
Yes.
But does that wash away her sins? I don't know. It's kind of a question. I don't know if we'll be able to answer it really.
Well, if they play with this character the way Dragon Ball ended up making Vegeta essentially a hero, despite all the atrocities that he committed, I could definitely see them making her likable enough. And that she's able to, in some ways, in the audience's eyes, atone somewhat for what she's done. Like, I mean, there's no way to turn back. I mean, they're kind of turning back time, but there's no way to turn back time and bring back to life all, and all the people that she's killed, or to lessen the suffering of those she's already caused to suffer. But if she can move forward,
don't tell this guy that he won't tell you can't turn back time.
That's what I mean. I was like, wait, they're turning back time, but you know what I mean? Like, it's how she lives her life moving forward that's going to dictate how we as an audience view her. So redemption lies in what's coming.
True. Yeah.
Or not.
And there is precedent. There is precedent in Star Trek. Garrick is a character who was a member of the Obsidian Order in Deep Space Nine, who did a lot of bad things, and he kind of changed. And even Gul Dukat, who ultimately is a bad guy, but kind of redeemed himself for a little while, or the audience was at least willing to accept that he could redeem himself. Mm-hmm. But I want to get back to the planet. We met Carl. Okay, and here he is on screen. If you're watching on the video version. The what's his name? The actor from CSI, Paul Guilfoyle, and I like cool to see him show up here. Jane was like, "Is he Q? Is that who this is? What did we meet? Another not the John Delancey Q. There are other members of the Q continuum. Is that who this is, or is this somebody else? Does anybody have a theory?"
I'm at a complete loss for this one. I mean, I liked it, but I was like, what?
Well, yeah. What? Who? And what do we think that Carl is?
And it chose like Earth stuff to wear from the past. Like, that's interesting choices here.
Some bowler hat here, some leather gloves, like this wool coat. Yeah, this is definitely like, I guess, a 1940s kind of aesthetic that they have here on Carl. Carl Lizdegard, like we mentioned, with the Muskoka chair.
Yeah. What's the name of the newspaper?
What's that, Em?
What's the name of the newspaper, guys? I can't read that.
Oh, I don't know. Let me take a look here.
The Star Dispatch.
Okay.
The Star Dispatch. Is that the same thing that was in like City on the Edge of Forever or something like that?
It must be an Easter egg.
I'm trying to read all these headlines. It's a little tough at this resolution, but it says like supernova threatens something here. It could be. It's probably.
I'd love to see the date on that. I know you can't get it, but I'd love to see the date.
Yeah, it might say. I don't know. Like, there's not a lot of trivia out yet because it just aired a few minutes ago.
Whatever it is, or he is, I found it interesting that it has chosen to wear Earth clothing from Earth's history as opposed to some kind of Terran stuff, because he's dealing with Giorgio, who's a Terran, not an Earthling. So for him to be wearing this stuff was of interest to me as a decision, and piques my curiosity as to what exactly he is.
Yeah, he just presents a door to Burnham and Giorgio tonight, next to his Muskoka chair.
But even the choice of the landscape. I mean, a cold, snowy day. I mean, this is not comfortable. I'm watching them going, man, I wouldn't like. You're having this conversation in the wind and the snow. He looks good. He looks good. He was comfortable. But man, I'm waiting for this to go, because the snow is caking up on Michael's hair at this time, and it was interesting. It wasn't a warm planet. Nothing there.
This felt very cinematic to me tonight. Like, okay, they went a full 30 minutes before a commercial.
Yeah, right? They did, didn't they?
Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow.
Right? Like I like Jane's like, they're not going to run a commercial, and eventually they did, but it was not until I think after she walked through the door here tonight and ended up on the Mirror Discovery back in 2255.
And that's a whole scene. I'm waiting. Okay, what the hell's behind the door? Let's get going. I found this a little long, honestly, but it was interesting. And you're right. I like Jane's idea. It could be a Q. Who knows?
It seems like or some kind of magical being. And we hear
that would be a lot to bring in a Q into this year.
It would be a lot, but I don't know what else Carl can be, but we'll see. Well, I think we'll get some hint in part 2. I would suspect, but
is he a Gallifreyanian, and they're bringing in the Doctor Who? I'm kidding.
Well, there are so many possibilities in Star Trek. So,
True.
you know, he could be a wormhole alien, for all we know. It's
Human form of a tardigrade? No.
a human tardigrade. But basically, he puts her into her own past, right? She gets to sort of it's a wonderful life. No, not a wonderful life, but some version of getting to kind of redo the worst day where she lost Michael. So this is kind of a really following up on everything that they did in season 1, talking about how the mirror Michael Burnham staged this coup against along with Lorca against Georgiou. Did she kill the other Michael Burnham? Like, what is that? What happened originally? She cut her head off in like that.
I think
scene
she killed her. Yeah, she's dead.
Okay, and so I never really understood that properly. I always thought she like had disappeared or something, but I couldn't really remember where we had left that story. It was well way back in season 1, and they haven't really referenced it much since then. But they're back here. They're kind of.
Now you gotta go watch it this weekend.
Yeah, we gotta go check it out again and find out kind of where they left things, because since after that they got back to the Prime Universe. They had to wrap up that whole Klingon war. Then the whole Red Angel story started, and so there was they never really got back to this. But there was that things were not good between Mirror Georgiou and Mirror Michael. But that was it, really. So they have to do. I think they have to do this. It makes sense that they're doing this story, but I really hope it's a satisfying conclusion. We saw that this little wristband that they gave her still is there, even though when she walks through the door, like her clothes change, everything's changed. She's back in that time. She still has this wristband to kind of help us as the audience go, okay, well, she did come through time. She did come through that door. She still is. This is not a flashback. This is her reliving things.
Yep.
She's like, this time it's going to be different. And we get a bit more insight. We get to see Mirror Tilly.
Did you guys think it was weird that Michael didn't go with her, like Prime Michael?
A little bit. I was a bit surprised that Prime Michael wasn't. I thought she would be part of this story, but is she just on the other side of the door still? Is she still sitting there with Carl?
I would assume so, yeah. I'm curious to know if this is not actually the past and if it's some kind of like pocket universe.
Or is it like a simulation? Or
yeah. Something other than the actual past. I don't know.
If she went back, but because if she actually was back in time, then she'd be back in time and she'd back in her universe and she wouldn't be dying anymore. So
because that messes up a whole ton of stuff.
Right. So it doesn't make sense for it to be that. So this seems like, where is this going to go? We're going to find out in part 2. Hopefully but it's interesting. It's kind of, it's showing us how, as she's reacting to sort of this world she came from, this world she idolizes, right? And she's talked about in these past episodes. In the Terran Empire, I was the best, and I did this. I was Regina Endor or whatever, but everyone was trying to kill you all the time. Nobody really liked you. Maybe your way isn't the better way. Maybe much like Mirror Spock, you're kind of like seeing, maybe the way I used to be isn't the best way to be.
At least we get to see awesome outfits.
Yeah, everybody looks better in this universe.
I love the crown. It's very Warhammer-esque, or Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, because they did a really good job, I thought, with these mirror universe variants of the Discovery uniforms. I'm not a huge. I don't hate the Discovery uniforms. I've talked about this before, but they're not my favorite. I think that the mirror ones are even stronger actually than the Prime version. There's a lot of ornate. The metallics. Yeah, it feels very like a Game of Thrones-ish. There's quite a bit. It's fun. You should have fun with this. And like you got Tilly, who looks very different in this universe. I like that the medical officers, we saw Culber, because I don't think we got the mirror Culber in season 1. I think he was dead by then. And they all wear red, all the medical officers, versus in the Prime universe they wear white because they don't care if they get blood on them, I guess, in the in the Terran universe. That was interesting. But I don't think this can also be the past, Michael, because later on we do see Stamets tries to stab Georgiou, but Georgiou gets to jump on him and stabs him. But
Yep.
we know he didn't die here because we saw him in the Mirror Stamets in season 1 talking to the other Stamets in the mycelial network.
Right. Yeah.
So what is
this? Yeah.
Or are we changing the past? Is the it's fun.
If this changes the past, then does the burn happen? Do they even go into the future?
Did the burn even happen?
Is this like a Dickens thing though, where she's going for a second chance to come back to the Prime universe as a better Georgiou? You know, like there's got to be there's a learn here. There's a lesson coming. You know, like it's not just
what is it? Yeah, are the 3 ghosts of Christmas going to teach her that the Federation actually is the best way to go and the Terran Empire is not, or the way everything she thought about herself, because now she has this whole juxtaposition of knowing Prime Michael, and tonight we get to see Mirror Michael Burnham, and
Mirror Michael Burnham is not nice. Holy gosh.
Yeah. And I think that Sonequa Martin Green's like, why did I never got to play the real, because in the season 1 she only had to pretend she was that version of Michael, right? No, It can't be. She couldn't have killed her the first time, because when she comes back, Emperor Georgiou is happy to see her. It's not like, hey, I cut your head off, how are you here? So it's I think it was more like she was missing or she disappeared or whatever.
Didn't Georgiou say that she's dead at some point?
Presumed dead. It was like presumed dead, but
presumed dead. Okay,
but not that she had necessarily killed her herself. We also don't know what happened to the Mirror Discovery, right? Because when Lorca brought Discovery into the Mirror universe in season 1, it flipped places with the other Discovery, supposedly.
Right.
But we never got a resolution to that. We don't know what happened to the other Discovery, the ISS Discovery, or the other Tilly. So all of that is still up in the air too. There is more story to explore here with these characters if they want to. But yeah, Mirror Michael, evil. You know what she did? She said there were some great artists on this planet, so I cut off their hands and I ripped out their eyes just to raise
oh my god!
Is this what your mom taught you to do?
But the reason being was to increase the value of the art. Like, what the hell? Like,
so she's psychotic too. But I think Georgiou is seeing the product of her, her upbringing. Yeah.
And they're raised in a world that weakness is unforgivable.
But Georgiou has the other Michael now, having spent 2 seasons with her, and I think she really cares for her, and now she's seeing this other one that's just like ruthless and going, because so you had this scene where the Alpian fell and was ill and was sentenced to death, basically go down and get eaten, and then the Saru slave comes over and is now in trouble with Michael. And now the Emperor says, no, you can't kill that guy. I want him back. I'm going to take him under my wing, So she's definitely changed for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We're just getting that example. And we also saw back to that gym scene where Prime Michael was trying to appeal to Georgiou's self-preservation. And she kept saying, my Michael, so much better than you. She's better in this way. She's better in that way, etc. Right. And now she's being seen up front that her Michael's a monster, and that she created that. And is that, where will that go next? We'll find out in the second hour of this story, but, it's interesting. I think that's kind of presented so far in an interesting way, to kind of maybe make a character change. I think this could go somewhere. I think this has potential.
It does, although I do see a coup coming in the next episode, because now other people are starting to doubt her. So I think if this is the past, maybe a coup is inevitable anyway.
Yeah, well, everybody in the Terran Empire wants to kill you and take your job. That's their whole thing. That's like their thing. Even at their party games, Adam, We saw here in the bar scene in the Discovery version of 10 Forward, which I don't know if that place has a name or not. The lounge where they have their parties, and and we saw Stamets and Culber and somebody else, like they were playing agonizer like shots. Is that what was going on?
Something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Do the Terrans just like pain? Are they just masochists and they just?
They look like a Klingon bar, like where
They're kind of like the Klingons. They're kind of like
they very much are. It's
They are, yeah.
because I can't remember where, but I mean this whole thing. Oh, it was under Gowron and all this whole thing about trying to take kill somebody for your gain. Like who am I going to execute to move forward? And it's very Klingon. Season.
Yeah, along with the Empire and glory for this and weakness is all these things and everything else. And we saw them fighting in the halls. We saw the two officers fight, Joanna and Reese, right? Later on, and
giving the actor something to do, which I appreciate, by the way.
Well, I like that they keep trying to bring like these sort of like background characters, like the B team, whatever we want to call them. They're not main cast; they're sort of like secondary cast. But they're like, I think that they try to profile them as much as they can. I wish they gave them more lines. I wish they would expand them. But I know there's a lot of people to get to, a lot of
people on this show,
a lot of people on this show too. But yeah, Reese,
but that scene though, again, like it just they see they have discipline. They see it's a very regimented crew, except when you want to beat somebody up in the hallway on duty. It just doesn't make sense to me. But
gambling, people can bet on those fights.
Yeah, wow.
I would fight. I think it's still discipline. I mean, one person challenged another person, and it's still a one-on-one duel. It's not like other people started jumping in.
No, but what I'm saying is that, when I think of Starfleet, I think of everything regimented, not regimented, but certainly on a clock, on a schedule. They have to do this, this, and this. You're not going to stop your work to watch a fight. A fight wouldn't happen.
Would they be on a break, maybe?
Maybe. Didn't look like it, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was fun. They were betting on it, 500 credits. Because the other thing about the Terrans is that they're capitalist, and that the whole thing cutting off the hands and the eyes was all about making them. They're kind of like pirates, right? Or they're kind of they're privateers.
Your universe,
right? And then it was after. There's the whole scene with Georgiou and Saru after she kind of gets him spared from evil Michael Burnham with the purple lipstick, and then that whole scene. I thought, did anyone feel like we were maybe gonna get a Lorca scene tonight, like Jason Isaacs?
Yeah, I did. I was waiting to see him. I would have liked to seen him.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if
popped into my head.
Do you think we'll see him on this show again? Next
episode, maybe?
I think you will, because they still have to deal with him. I mean, now that she knows the scheming, I think they have to wrap that up, or not.
I didn't like the mental image of Mira Lorca and Mira Burnham hooking up. I don't know why. I just it seemed. I don't think that. I'm all about Book and Michael Burnham. I ship that one.
Burn Book. Yeah.
I like Detmer without the prosthetic.
You like so Mirror? Yeah, we saw Mirror Detmer looking nefarious, always going there.
Yeah,
eyes. We got the whole scene where they unveiled the Charon, that big city-like ship we saw in season 1. Where Stamets kind of unveils it. And then this whole thing where he tried to stab her on Michael Burnham's urging. It seems like he was kind of Michael Burnham's assassin. Maybe he doesn't die there from getting stabbed in the neck, but it didn't look too good for Mirror Stamets in that.
He looks pretty dead to me.
He looked kind of dead, and Mirror Culber did not come to his aid.
No.
So I don't know. We'll see where this is going. But then we get the whole scene in the corridor. Because after Michael Burnham's assassination plot fails, she just goes, "Long live Emperor Georgiou! She's the greatest, everybody!" And she runs out, and basically everybody who's looking to sort of maybe get Michael Burnham out of the way, which includes Joanna. I always call her Joanna because what's her last name? Owesican, or Joanne. She's there. A bunch of like the honor guard are there who protect Georgiou, and this is where Georgiou's going to take her out, but Michael Burnham can't handle that she's weak. She's willing to spare her life if she confesses all these things, and through all of it, Georgiou's quite resolute with who she is. She's like, don't confuse weakness with growth. Do you think that Georgiou believes that? That she's
if not fully, at least partially. She's seeing that the growth that she has been experiencing is not a weakness.
I agree with that.
If not, I don't think it's full. I think we're kind of on the beginning of this change that we're going to see in her.
You know what?
I mean, she's already been growing, right? So,
you know the flashbacks that she's been experiencing the last few weeks. We've seen the blood and all this. I'm looking at Michael's uniform, and I'm thinking, is this the scene where we see all the blood coming out of Michael, and this is where the Georgiou is so upset, but it didn't happen. So, I guess it's not yet.
Yeah,
because we still have to deal with that flashback.
Yeah, because we got like a flat. I've forgotten about that. Like earlier this season, right? We saw a flat, and then was Michael's blood coming? Like, was she?
Well, it was somebody's blood. We don't know who, and that's where I was thinking. And this is the scene where we're going to see this happening, and then Georgiou, under so much regret about doing this murder again or whatever. But it didn't. Like she spared her, and that was that.
Right, and I don't think she. I don't know. We don't even know if this is real. We don't really know what's going on here. This could be a holodeck program for all we know. So
that Empress crown and the robe, that's awesome. Like, she looked fantastic.
It's epic, yeah. And I love how like when they unveiled that space station, they had like the core
right in her
that was epic. I was like, oh yeah.
No, they did a great job with, like we said, with the design here, and some of these characterizations, and the mirror universe can be a lot of fun if you don't. I think it can be overdone. I think you can have too much mirror universe, but I think it's that this is.
They're spending a lot of money on this show, though. It looks so good every week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I feel like that this 2 hours might even stand alone as like almost like a movie, right? Like almost like in this kind of bigger season 3 story. So I'm excited to see where this goes next. But that was kind of like after she spares her life, she says throw her in the agonizer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't turn my back on those people. No. Like why is she confident that nobody's going to mess with her, like when she spares Burnham there? That's what's kind of is she also dumb now?
Well, she still has her sword, and we all know how like she stopped that attack just when it broke the skin, right? Like that's precision. They know she can kick their asses if they try something.
Right. So they're acknowledging that she's kind of like the Michelle Yeoh martial arts icon background does apply to this mirror Georgiou.
I would assume so.
I don't think that applied to Prime Georgiou. I never got the impression she was a martial arts.
No. It's this one.
Yeah, more of a telescope enthusiast, I think. Prime Georgiou, but
because I think these Terrans are smart enough to know. I mean, she's definitely on her guard right now, so now would be a bad time to go after her.
But who's loyal to her right now? That crew. I mean,
Saru,
and he's a slave.
Yeah, not exactly high social status.
Well, Oreo seemed to be loyal to her, although now she gave a look right at the end, so she might be the one. The leader of the honor guard,
right?
The one who won the fight.
And Captain Tilly.
I don't know if she's gonna be loyal. Like there was a lot of suspicious looks in that last couple of.
I think that they're all like, when we get our chance, we're taking out her. And I think if Georgia doesn't know that, she's dumb, or she's naive. But
she knows. She knows. And I think that's what I have a sense that ultimately it's what's going to make her realize, like, man, this sucks. I fix one thing and then I cause another problem. That's why I'm saying this coup is going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, it's kind of like we saw in the original. It was always set up in the original Mirror episode. Like the second that Mirror or Prime Kirk, who's pretending to be Mirror Kirk, says, "No, I'm not going to bomb that planet." Chekhov's trying to kill him. Starfleet's like, kill that guy. If he's not killing people, if he's not doing plundering, then we got no use for him. So that's just the Terran way. That's how they roll. Or at least in this time period, that's how they rolled. Before they changed, it became the compassionate.
Although there was a line during that gym scene between Giorgio and Burnham where she's like, you bend people to your will, essentially is what she's saying, right? But that applies to her too. It's a reflection, right? Like,
true. Yeah.
So
and
really,
she said that you always just wanted me to be this reflection of you, to be this shadow of you that could never live up to you, right? That's what Mirror Burnham says to Mirror Giorgio here at the end, right?
Yeah.
That Lorca loves me for who I am. That's what she.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if Giorgio is gonna have it, but she's gonna try to bend the entire Terran Empire to her new way of thought, which is more.
So is the coup going to be led by Lorca then, do you think, Michael?
Pardon me?
Is the coup going to be led by Lorca?
Potentially, but it's going to involve a lot more people now.
We don't even know what happened to Prime Lorca. Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions from that whole first season arc that we're just kind of forgotten about. So it's interesting.
Now I'm going to go watch it again this way. Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like three episodes that they spent in the first season on this stuff heavily because Lorca, for the first whole part of season 1, we don't know he's Mirror Lorca, right? We just think he's this captain of the ship. The only reason that Prime Burnham gets out of prison at all is because Mirror Lorca was having a thing with Mirror Burnham, and then he ended up in the Prime universe and wanted this Michael Burnham sort of on his side or something, right? That was his plan. I think we have to go back and rewatch it, so and figure out what the hell was going back on in season 1. But yeah, is everybody ready to give a rating?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get this up here, and let's start with Michael.
9.
Okay. Adam.
10.
Full 10.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Okay. Never gone full 10. That's your highest rating here. I'm going high again. I think this was like a 9 tonight. So I'm
Yay.
I'm back up. I was back up this week. Oh, sorry, and the episode was called Terra Firma Part 1. Now we can all reserve the right to revise our ratings here if we don't like part 2, or if we don't feel like the resolution of this story was good. But I think that it also is kind of neat to say, okay, this is how we felt about part 1 after the first viewing, and it'll be interesting to compare that next week.
My big things they have to resolve is Carl. They got to.
Carl's a big one.
You have to.
Michael Burnham just standing there in the snow.
Yeah.
That's
number 1. And now I'm very curious about. I mean, I agree. There's going to be a coup. I just want to know who's going to this. Should be great. Like, there's going to be fights, and it's going to be good. So
I want some great action. I'm looking forward to seeing if we get some fun action scenes. We got a little bit of that tonight, but I think that there's maybe
it'll be a flow battle next week. There'll be starship battling.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, and we saw there from the ratings. I gave last week 7.5. It wasn't that I didn't think it was good. I just didn't think it was it didn't knock my socks off or anything.
I didn't know this was going to be a mirror episode. Something I read earlier in the week did not happen, so I'm very pleased with tonight. That was great.
And I guess I was like, why is Giorgio here? I kept asking this all season. Why is she here? What's she doing? What are they going to do with this character? What's the point? And this is maybe our answer. If they can do something compelling, keep the mirror universe sort of in the background, I guess, or keep.
I think she's done in the Prime universe. I think this is it for her.
You think this might be the swan song of Michelle Yeoh on the show?
Yeah.
And
because she doesn't really have a home in the Prime, in Discovery. She doesn't have a home.
Well, they were going to give her. They were okay. So the whole plan was Michelle Yeoh was going to be part of this like Section 31 spinoff, and that was going to be like the thing. And they didn't have to bring her with Discovery and Michael Burnham, right? They could have left her back in the 22nd century and done that, but they didn't do that. So if there's some kind of great finale to this Mira Georgiou character in the second parter, I'm good with that. If they keep her around after this, I think I would be better with it than I would have been before this. So I think that's a testament that this episode was strong, but it will all depend on where it goes. I think, are they trying to redeem Mira Georgiou? I think so. Is it going to pay off? Good chance. Is this is the way they did it, like this Carl character? What's going on with all that? How is Prime Burnham going to tie into that story? I think those are the questions I don't know yet. I just don't know how this is going to, if it's going to play out in a satisfying way. I hope so. Any other questions you guys have going into next week?
Nope. I am good. I'm excited.
The only other thing I'm wondering, do we get more of that, of the story around the burn? Are we going to, because they kind of talked about it tonight in like the stamina.
I assume it's what's coming after next week.
Yeah, I think they just have to talk about it a little bit. Like they said, we'll throw 2 lines into this story just so it's kind of moving along. But really, we're going to talk about it in the episode afterwards.
And we need a little bit of Jet Reno next week because now it's been 3 episodes.
Where's Jet Reno? Yeah, where's Jet Reno? What I think that's a character you would expect to see more of than like even Joanne and Reese and these people. But anyway. So Terra Firma Part 2 next Thursday night, December 17th, as we'll be covering that episode, and continuing for the next 3 episodes after that, to finish up this season of Star Trek Discovery in season 3. Also, here on Live Long and Podcast, you can check out all of our other great content. On Tuesday nights, we have Star Trek Deep Space Nine rewatches. We're watching every episode in a row. It's a 3.5-year journey to cover that show. We're in the middle of season 2, just finished up like episode 15, I think. And so check that out on Tuesday nights. Wednesday nights, we do Star Trek The Original Series, where with my dad and Adam and my brother Jeff and Jody. We just did The Ultimate Computer last night. Next week, we're going to be doing Amok Time, the episode with the Ponfar and all that. And then Star Trek Radio Theaters, as we're going to be wrapping up season 1 of the show. And we're going to be doing this Saturday night, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Michael's got to play like 20 characters, and he is committed to giving each one a different personality. It might kill him, but he's going to do it.
It'll be fun.
You got the guy who says we have high hopes that the solar sail will work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Jeff has that guy.
Oh, Jeff has that guy? Oh, I thought that. Saratoga science officer.
No, you're thinking of the York. That's the Yorktown captain. Jeff's playing that guy, but Michael is playing the Saratoga science officer. He's also he's the one who was like, we're dying in space. You got Sarek, Michael. You got Commander Sulu. Yeah. I got the Klingon ambassador. I'm excited for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So if you like just us. If you like us and you like Star Trek stuff and you want to hear a new take on this movie, check it out.
I'm joining you. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be our first 2-hour one. So I'm looking forward to it. Also, our other channels, Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, where we talk about other shows like Westworld, Survivor, Big Brother, and other channel, Trivial Debates, where we argue about movies, sports, TV, and more. Adam was just on the last one. We're going to be doing another one at the end of this month. Jody's going to be hosting. Check that out on those other channels. And thank you guys. I know it's a late night, 11:30, so I'm sure we're all here to get to bed.